Check.
Yes, sir.
Welcome back to another episode of the All Things Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Julian, joined again by the homie Rios. What's going on, Ree? Man, we got a lot. We got a lot today. We got some legal troubles, unfortunately. We got quarterback talk, college football, NFL talk. So I hope everybody's had a good week, man. Rio, how you feeling?
Y'all feeling good, man. Feeling good. Like I said, hey, we got some preseason games on today. College football starts officially next week. So, yeah, man, I'm excited, man. Football's finally here. Baseball postseason starting to, turn up a little bit. So, yeah, we here.
We got college football, week 0 actually this weekend. So,
oh, yeah.
All the FCS teams playing tonight, a few FCS teams playing tonight, and then we got the bottom tier teams like Florida State going to play on Saturday.
Whoa!
If anybody wants to watch New Mexico State versus Florida State, tap in on Saturday at 7 p.m.
Yeah, that's straight. Nobody want to watch that team in Tallahassee, man. I'm gonna keep it real with you, bro. Keep it real with you.
Yo, I want to start off in basketball, though. I know college football season's here. I know preseason football is on its final week after, I guess, through Sunday, and then we'll start ramping up for the regular season. But the Miami Heat made a splash, no pun intended, signing this week, signing half of the Splash Brothers, Klay Thompson. We also signed backup reserve big Nick Richards. So I wanted to hear your thoughts as a non-biased, non-Miami Heat fan. I'll obviously get into my thoughts as a fan and as a non-biased analyst on it. But I think it's a great signing for Miami and something that we needed to do to kind of finalize this roster here going into 2026. What are your thoughts when you saw Miami Heat getting Klay Thompson after the buyout?
I like the move for Miami. I think to me with their roster currently, I feel like there was going to be some spacing issues between Giannis and Bam. So now you have a guy in Klay Thompson that can spread the floor. You know what I'm saying? You got to account for him as a 3-point shooter. So that makes it easier for Giannis and Bam to, you know what I'm saying, to score, and also too from a defensive perspective. We know Klay took a step. Klay took a step down on the defensive aspect of the basketball, but he still has Davion Mitchell, and you know what I'm saying, and he's still a capable and willing defender too, and he's still a smart defender. So it's going to be interesting to see how this Heat roster shapes up. And like I said, the Nick Richards signing, although that's under the radar, I do think Nick Richards will provide them with some front court depth, which they really needed coming off the bench, which they lacked last year. So I think that's a good pickup for them with the Nick Richards and Klay Thompson thing. So now, which is good too, because now teams are trying to avoid that second apron. So Miami does not hit the second apron with these two signings for next year moving forward, to where you're able to, let's say if it doesn't work, you're able to add some pieces or add multiple pieces to go with Giannis and Bam. So Pat Riley, listen, man, he knows what he's doing, man. I'll never doubt Pat Riley. Never will. He, like I said, he's won chips in every in every era of the NBA at every level, almost, pretty much for the most part. So like I said, I truly believe that this signing, I think it's going to go good. I mean, I looked it up. The Heat have, I believe, the eighth biggest odds to win the championship for the whole league. And so that's good. And also, too, like I said, it's all the X factor to me in this is not just Klay Thompson and Nick Richards. To me, it's Davion Mitchell. Does he take that next step into becoming a pure point guard? Because we know what he can do defensively, right?
Yeah.
Can he match that with the offensive output? So that's the key for this Heat roster, is the ascension of Davion Mitchell and what he does as a player. Well, go ahead, man. You're the Heat fan. I should be asking you how you feel about this. You're the Miami Heat fan, man. So go ahead, man. Go ahead. I'll let you get this off, bro. Go ahead. Tell me how you feel about it.
I'm excited, man. We got one of the best 3-point shooters ever. This is the second time that when we go ahead and sign a top level player in the NBA, top 5 player in the NBA, we follow up with signing a GOAT, right? Like whether they're on the back end of their career or not. LeBron James and Chris Bosh joined the Miami Heat in 2010. And then shortly after, a couple years later, we go ahead and sign a guy named Ray Allen, also a guy named Mike Miller. With respect to the GOATs, Mike Miller is one of the best 3-point shooters this game's ever seen. But, Ray Allen at the top of that list, or whether you want to put him or Reggie at that time at the top, I think this is one of those type of impact signings. Klay Thompson, as you mentioned, on the back end of his career and maybe taking a step back defensively, there's been no regression in his 3-point shooting. We haven't seen that, take any type of fall off or anything like that. And even him going to Dallas and not playing as much minutes, he still was able to shoot the ball at a high level at, I think, 38% last year, made over 220 3-pointers. And so this Miami Heat team, to your point, has added shooting. The biggest thing when we got Giannis Antetokounmpo, everybody, when something happens, obviously there's like that first comment that somebody makes and then everybody runs with. That's kind of what sports media and sports Twitter has become these days. It's like, how many times can we make this joke or this reference, or like we saw somebody say it, so we're going to run with it. And that's kind of something that annoys me about
right. A lot of regurgitating points. I agree.
Exactly. And so a big one was Miami needs shooting. Miami needs shooting. All right, you guys don't got no shooting. And as much as that's a fact, or was maybe a fact at the time, obvious, excuse my French, I'm not going to curse, but obviously, like, yeah, you sign a guy like Giannis, you're going to need to surround him with shooting. But roster construction isn't overnight. Roster construction doesn't just happen in a few weeks. It takes an offseason, and maybe sometimes it takes 2 off seasons to really construct the championship roster you want to build. But as far as what Pat Riley's been able to do from last year and having to trade Jimmy Butler, as a disgruntled star who just kind of took the joy away from us, we flipped this roster completely and have added since Tim Hardaway Jr., have added Klay Thompson, obviously Nick Richards, a depth piece. We added a Bobby Portis. We added a Giannis Antetokounmpo. These guys are, championship level contributing players when I speak about Giannis, Bobby Portis, and Klay Thompson. To your point, Davion Mitchell taking that step, this year. He had a great 3-point shooting year last year, shooting 39.5% from the 3. And we've seen him working extremely hard this summer on his game and gelling with the guys. And, just when you're hungry and you put the work in, you got to live with the result, and you got to be, you got to just take what comes with that. And so for me as a fan to see how dedicated to the craft and dedicated to getting better Davion has worked on this summer, I could only expect, more and better. So I'm very excited to see what he's going to do as our starting point guard. Obviously, we're hearing rumors now like Kyrie Irving, and I'm not going to buy into all of that right just yet. And I do think that there is a possibility that a star who maybe on the back end of his career is going to be excited enough to want to take a pay cut or get bought out and whatever that situation looks like to join Miami, maybe in the future by the trade deadline or even next year. But right now, this looks like the team we're going into the season with. We just signed our 13th and 14th players. I'm excited. We have we added Tim Hardaway Jr., Klay Thompson. I just read a tweet, and shout out to 5 Reasons Sports and Ethan Skolnick. The Heat got Tim Hardaway Jr., Klay, Richards, and Fontecchio for less than they would have had to pay Norman Powell. And I think that just shows, one, how great, Andy Ellisberg and Pat Riley are at finding guys and crunching numbers and making things work financially. But also, like, the vision that they have for what they're setting out for. And it's a credit to them. I know Pat Riley in the front office and Mickey Arison as an owner has gotten a lot of flack for being cheap and not getting the right guys around Jimmy and this, that, and the third. I was talking to my uncle earlier, and I mentioned, like, obviously there's a lot of pressure to win this year, but there's way more pressure on New York to go, do it back to back.
Yeah, for sure.
On Philadelphia. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. On Philadelphia to go and get it in one first year.
Boston as
But
well. They're in that
with
mix
Miami, the pressure, I wouldn't even say is so much there nationally. Obviously, there's a standard in Miami that we're playing to compete for championships year in and year out, whether we look like a playing team or not. And so now that we have a bona fide superstar and surrounded him with a lot of talent, and then guys that are coming back like Pelle Larsson, who I'm excited for to have like some sort of a breakout season coming off the bench. I think Andrew Wiggins is going to have a really great contributing season on defense and offense. So Eric Spoelstra and the Miami Heat, to their credit, when they go and get the star, LeBron James, Chris Bosh, you go to the championship first year. You go and sign Jimmy Butler in 2019, and you find yourself in the finals that first year. You know what I mean? So and you went to the finals twice in the Jimmy Butler era, and you went to the finals 4 times straight. Granted, LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, but you went 4 times straight when you got them. And so I have no doubt in my mind that this team can compete for a championship. And I'm not saying they will go to the championship or will win the East. However, I don't see why I should be doubtful about what this roster can bring to the NBA this season. And I mentioned maybe on the last episode or 2 episodes ago that they're going to be a big threat to Philadelphia. They're going to be a big threat to New York. And I don't think Boston's going to be a threat this season, at least to us. And there was a comment. Somebody said this is delusional. And hey, I'm gonna let the play and do the talk because like just to reiterate my point, I don't see why I wouldn't feel good about this going into this year with a healthy Giannis and a healthy roster and guys like Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins, surrounding Bam Adebayo as well. I haven't even talked about him. So defensively, we'll be great. And I think that we're going to be good enough defensively to start Klay Thompson and not feel that burden of like, wow, he's a traffic cone. We had Hero out there, and he's not Tyler Hero, and he's a smart. You made a great point that Klay Thompson's a smart defender. So even if you're losing a step, even if you're not as athletic as you or mobile as you once were laterally, when you're smart defender, you're going to get to that spot, guys to the spot, and Spo knows how to use that, and you're going to have Wiggs, Bam, and Giannis in your front court to be, and then Davion in the backcourt to be able to at least mask and band-aid wherever you're lacking. So
I do see
super excited.
I do see I would say like coaching strategy though. I do like Spoelstra is a very man switch oriented. That's what the Heat are known for, right? About just being able to switch on man-to-man defense, right? I think this year, just to preserve Giannis and Bam, I do believe they're going to mix in some zone a little bit, just to preserve those guys, especially in the fourth quarter, because that's what a lot of teams are doing now. That's the new trend going on in the NBA is, okay, we're going to go zone towards the end of the game, towards certain points of the game to preserve our superstars. So I do think that's going to happen for the Heat, and I do think that's going to be somewhat of an adjustment for them to make. But like I said, you have 3. To me, you have 2 of the best defenders of our era, in my opinion, on one team. Yeah. You have Bam and you have Giannis. You also have an all-defensive candidate guy who's a perennial all-defensive candidate guy in Klay Thompson, right? And you got Davion Mitchell too, who's also a potential all-defensive guy too. So I'm interested to see what Spoelstra does on the defensive end too, because like I said, like you said, you mentioned these teams in the East, right? You have Philly, you have New York. You could even throw in a Detroit in there too, where it's a high-powered, up-tempo offense, right? To where they can slow that down. So I'm interested to see how the Heat mesh defensively and what type of coaching strategies are supposed to use, being that you have all these Swiss Army knives on defense.
Yeah. And to your point, we also do play some zone. Like Spo will mix in zone, and he will. We've been versatile enough to have defenders that can. And I think this year we're just going to have even more pieces to disrupt offenses, whether we're playing that zone or going man. So yeah, I think it's a good point to help alleviate pressure on your superstars. And I wanted to get to this comment here. Can we have an honest convo about Idris though? And shout out to Bam Adebayo, shout out to Breeze tapping in the chat. Breeze, I would like for you to elaborate because I'm going to act like a slow Miami Heat fan here who will say, hey, I mean, Bam Adebayo, he's a 20 and 10 guy, who shot more 3-pointers this year. He shot, only 44% from the field. I want to see that
he
go
had
up,
to.
but he does a lot for this Miami Heat team. I mean, this guy has been the anchor of this defense, and sets up our offense a lot, and has sacrificed himself to be the team player so that things can run a little smoother. I don't think Bam ever needs to get to that point where he's 25 and 11. Like he did, that's not like gonna be our championship formula. Top tier empty calories over there with Bam. I mean, I don't know if you're being serious.
I wouldn't say that.
I'm not gonna discredit Bam Adebayo's career and what he's done to Miami or with Miami, and knowing with in the Jimmy era, with the lack of resources that Spo or that Pat went and got for them. Yeah, and then Tyler, his running mate, being hurt, a lot of the time that they've been there together. I would give Bam the benefit of the doubt throughout his career. Obviously, there's moments where he could have been better, and like he's had lackluster moments, and we expect more out of him, maybe want him to be more aggressive as well at times. But I don't or wouldn't put like let's have an honest convo. Like he's not that guy. Like Bam is that guy, and Bam is a great defender in this league and a top 5 defender in this league. To me, a top 3 defender in this league. It's actually amazing that he's never won a Defensive Player of the Year award, but that's another conversation for another day. However, knowing what he does in terms of dirty work and team play, I'm not going to discredit Bam Adebayo's career. He also, dates Asia Wilson. So shout out to Bam for dating the GOAT. And yeah, so.
Hey, listen,
no bad things to say about it.
I'll say this about Bam too. This is my last take on Bam, man. I just think the 83-point game that he had kind of like left a bad taste in people's mouths, just because of how he was able to get the 83 points. But put that shit aside, right? Listen, Bam. To me, this is my opinion. I think he's a top 5 defender in basketball.
I agree.
So it's like, okay, the scoring output, the 83 points, yada 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 yada. But let's not forget like what his role was on Team USA, right? And let's not forget what he was able to do in those Jimmy Butler years with the Heat too. Defensively, I'm talking about. Like, this is a guy that can guard 1 through 5. Let's be realistic here. He can guard 1 through 5 if he wants to. Right? Also, too, to me, he's one of the best help defenders in basketball. Next to, I probably say, I think he's the best help defender in basketball, period. Because the other one was Giannis, but he's on your team now. So it's like, what are you? I don't get the Bam hate. I don't get the Bam slander. You know what I mean? I just don't get it. Just because of what he does defensively, a lot of players do not do that. A lot of players simply, and they can't do that. So that's my Bam, man.
I'm gonna say this too before we get off the Miami Heat. Ryan Conwell, rookie, lefty, point guard out of Louisville.
Oh yeah. Good summer league tape as well.
Amazing summer league tape. But
okay, so I got a question about that. You think he's gonna spend time in Sioux Falls for a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely, and he should. However, he might be the 2026 Kendrick Nunn. He might be the 2026 Kendrick Nunn. And that can go either way. He's a young kid. And it's okay if he's not. I think he has a great future ahead of him. I think he's surrounded by a lot of talent, a great coaching staff, and a great developmental staff that will put the pieces and do the things right for him to get to where he needs to be. But right now, what we saw in Summer League, he's an NBA player. He's an NBA level player.
Oh, for sure.
And he can come in and light it up, and he'll have good days. He'll have bad days. And, he'll make his rookie mistakes and have his welcome to the NBA moments and times. That's okay. But I think if Spo wants to let him loose and tell him yo, we need a guard who can get shifty and really get a bucket on offense, Ryan Conwell is the guy to do it. So shout out to him for having the summer he had. Shout out to the Heat for finding him in the second round. And I'm excited to see his development, throughout the season and his career. So hopefully he's a guy that we can develop into something strong and keep him in Miami for years to come if that all works out. But that's just the last point I wanted to make on Miami. Breeze, if you're still watching, Your Steelers are up. I think that's why you feeling yourself 14-10. I heard Will Howard was balling on the
Yo, bro,
Bills.
Drew Alar, man. Drew Alar.
Drew Aller, man, he got something. I mean, he's not a slouch. He had a down year at Penn State, but look at Garrett Nussmeier, right? He went to LSU and had a down year, and now he's looking like he can be something with Kansas City behind Patrick Mahomes. So you gotta, the thing about quarterbacks too is that you gotta give it time, bro. Like it takes time. Oh shit, he said he's not balling. I heard, like I said, I heard. I ain't say I watched, but I said I heard. You got to give quarterbacks time, man. It takes time to develop in this league, and the way that you develop in this league is by playing. So I wanted to talk about the Browns quarterback decision. Obviously, Todd Monken on Monday morning announced what we knew was coming. Deshaun Watson getting the quarterback one starting position for the season, not like a week by week thing. This is like, Deshaun Watson's our guy. We're going to roll with him, and obviously that leaves Shedeur Sanders to be the backup once again. I guess what I want to talk about, Rios, is more so how long of a leash is Cleveland going to give Deshaun Watson in this current situation? Because I get it, right? We mentioned the money. We mentioned how much he's making. We mentioned you're not going to bench that, and it's an ownership decision more so than a Todd Monken decision, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, you have a guy in Shedeur Sanders who you did draft with a 5th-round pick, and he played pretty good last year when he had the opportunity. He comes into camp healthy and played pretty good through camp. Some would say he outplayed Deshaun Watson through camp, but they ultimately went with the executive decision to start Watson. And I want to know again, is this something that, like, all right, by week 3, by week 4, if Watson's not producing wins, they're going to just say, we'll cut our losses here? Like, when does it become, you know what, Shedeur, here's your opportunity? Or do you think the Browns are going to just stick with this throughout the season, win or lose,
I think the Browns, they have to stick with it during the season. I think they have to. Like I said, he's a $50 million cap hit, right? So it just looks bad on the ownership part. You don't want the fans to turn, right? Because they're going to be like, oh, it's because usually we know what goes on with year 2 of the quarterback development, right? What happens in year 2, right? You have to build the pieces around that quarterback in order for your team to get better, right? That's what the Giants have done with Jackson Dart, right? Who else did that? Cam Ward, right? They've gotten pieces to at least surround
Caleb
that
Williams
year 2
too.
quarterback, right? Caleb Williams too, right? To surround that year 2 quarterback with something, right? With just something, right? So
Yusuf in the building. What up, Yusuf?
Right? What's up, Yusuf? What's up, my G? So, like, in my opinion, I mean, do I think sitting Shedeur? Do I think it's all right for them? Yes, in a sense, because you're saving money on that aspect, but also at the same time, it's like, yo, if I'm a Browns fan, I wouldn't go to the games. I seriously would not go to the games. If Deshaun Watson is playing quarterback, I would not go to the games, just because there's no spark in that. You know what I mean? Like the times that he has played, he's been bad. And you look at the money he's getting, right? Plus, his off the field stuff that goes with that, right? It just looks even bad. And especially for Browns ownership, where, let's be real, the Browns haven't had a quarterback since goddamn, I'm 32 years old, bro. The Browns haven't had a quarterback since I was in fucking kindergarten, bro.
Yeah.
So that's a long fucking time. So if you think about just that quarterback carousel that's been going on in Cleveland for goddamn, I'd say for fucking almost 30 years now, right? At some point, something has to give. And I believe the fans are just very, 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 very upset that Deshaun Watson is a starter. And maybe if I'm Shedeur, right? I don't want to go full Skip Bayless, right? But yo, I don't.
That was a great 15-minute video. I watched the whole video, by the way.
I don't. That's gonna be I ain't gonna lie. That's that. Whoever said that's a fantasy football punishment for last place, where you have to watch all his rants in an hour. I fuck with that. I salute that. But do you ask for a trade if you're Shedeur? I'm asking you, do you
I don't
would
think
you
so. I don't think so because one, you're still like an undeveloped quarterback, right? And so you can ask for a trade at Shadur Sanders today and go to another quarterback battle. If you, Atlanta, right? Atlanta
right?
is
Oh yeah, let's go.
the
Let's put Atlanta in
destination.
there.
Michael Penix might beat him for the starting job, whether we agree with that or not, or whether we think he should or not. Like, no, your job should be in Cleveland, and when you get the proper opportunity, you embrace it and you own it. And to Breeze's point, is nowhere for him to go. I agree.
Yeah,
I think that it's a money. This is the expiring year for Deshaun Watson, right? They're
right.
done with him after
So
this year,
right, so
and
they're
so
done after the season, but it's like I said, it's still a $50 million cap hit, bro.
yeah.
It's still a $50 million cap
Yusuf
hit.
said he doesn't think he makes it through the home opener or to the home opener. He said both Florida games to start off at Jags at Bucks could be really bad.
They
I
could
watched the first
they
4
could
minutes. Like, this is all I need.
they could beat Tampa. So let's say
I
that
mean,
they could
defensively, Cleveland has a team, but
right
can their offense put it
score
together?
enough
And that's
points.
what we've failed to see from Cleveland, and even in Shador's days as a starter, at the end of the season, it's just like their offense isn't stacked. It's not stacked. What's good, Ev? Ev in the chat. Yo. There are Breeze said in what Madden? No, Breeze. They got some guys. They got some talent. They have a nice middle linebacker they drafted last year. Schweringer. They got Grant Delpit. They got
Verse,
Jared
they
Verse,
got Denzel
obviously.
Ward.
They
Yeah,
got
yeah. Like nah, the Browns have
Ward,
a
and
good
they
defense.
drafted another rookie,
Let's chill on the Browns.
Kill
Let's chill on
Warren.
the Browns.
So
They could
I
play.
mean, they're not no elite defense. This is also a Steelers fan, like I mentioned. Breeze is also a Steelers fan, so I give them that. But the Browns do have a solid defense, and so yeah, they can make stops here and there. However, offensively, these are the questions that need to be answered. Is Concepcion, is Boston, are they going to be the guys that the quarterbacks can lean on? Is Judkins going to come out and have a great second year as well with Samson? Like, they have pieces on offense, but we haven't seen them be able to put it together, and their quarterback play has been underwhelming. So I'm not saying you put Shador in and that's your answer and you're going to go 4-0. No. But you need to develop Shador Sanders at some point of his career so you're not just wasting his time on the bench. I understand the sit behind a guy, and learn. I don't think Shador Sanders is learning from Deshaun Watson so much.
I
You
don't
know
think
what I
so
mean?
either. I don't think so either. I don't think so either. I just really believe that it's just a matter of the cap hit. It's really just a matter of
but
that.
man, Jimmy Haslam signed off on the deal, which is noted as the worst deal, 5-year total guarantee, $230 million in franchise and NFL history. We saw Tua get cut or trade. Did he get cut or trade? I think he got cut, right?
Got cut. They cut him.
And so, like,
they cut
as
him
bad,
to say,
and you look at Miami, like they're in dead cap hell, right? Who was the other team? Russell Wilson got cut from the Broncos, and the Broncos was in dead cap hell. But
right, and they had to rebuild it the right way. So it's like
at some point you got to do it. At some point you got to do it. And this is Ev. If this is exactly what we're talking about. Jimmy Haslam being, the owner in Cleveland. It's just he's looking at the books. Like, you're gonna tell me that he's not quarterback one? Crazy.
Right, like exactly. Like I said, how much money again? $50 million. That's a big cap hit, man. Whether people like, that's a big cap hit because like I said, if you year 2 of a quarterback development, right? That's when you get the pieces around him. Like, you get that you're able to sign that star receiver. You're able to get that left tackle or right tackle, right? You're able to get that dynamic tight end, right? So the fact that the Browns were able to get none of those things, I mean, Fannon's good, but like,
I do like Fannin.
But the fact that you're able to that you're not able to get those 3 key pieces for a young quarterback who's developing, and they use those pieces as crutches, right? You need a star wide receiver to say, hey, I need to develop chemistry with you. You need a safety blanket and a tight end, right? So it's like it's tough for the Browns, man. But like I said, if I'm the Browns, man, if I'm a Browns fan, I'm not going to the games.
It's going to be tough watches, man. We're going to hear
tough.
a lot of boos in Cleveland.
I would not support that if I'm a Browns fan.
But or you go to the games and you spend your money to boo, and you spend your money to express your your distaste with the organization, which they're going to boo regardless, because I think it's going to be a losing season for them once again, unfortunately. But this should be specific to the decision that was made before the season
by ownership
started. I wouldn't even give my chance. I wouldn't even give my team a chance. Like how the Suns were doing at one point, like sell the team. Like I'm willing to get kicked out after paying $200 for this ticket for the sign I'm about to bring in this game. You know what I mean? Like that's the energy that they need in Cleveland, because it's kind of fucked up. You know, they've never had anything to be excited for, and then the small things that they have over the years, Johnny Manziel, right? Like that
Baker Mayfield,
then
right?
Baker Mayfield, then they fuck him over and like, yeah, we're just gonna give up.
Right. Even the year they had with Derek Anderson and Braylon Edwards. You know, that was a cool Browns team.
Yeah,
and they sabotaged that completely.
That's exactly what they do. And so for the fans to have guys to root for, like there's, as we mentioned, there's guys on this team. There's some good players on this team that you can say, you know, hey, maybe if this was Green Bay, maybe if this was, you know, New England, maybe if this was another, you know, competent franchise, this team could do something. But it's Cleveland, and whatever cloud that there is over them, ownership, you know, that I look at Cleveland and I look at the Jets, like Woody Johnson and Jimmy Haslam are one and the same as far as just like incompetent owners who will never feel or reach the success that they, I guess, want. I don't even know if they want it, but that they seem to want because of how they run their front office and decisions. So I don't want to harp too much on Deshaun Watson, because he's going to have an opportunity to play. He's going to have an opportunity to either shut us up like completely and be like, yo, look, I'm still a starting caliber quarterback. I don't believe, you know, he is, but I could be wrong. And if I am, great. But I am excited for the day that we get to see Shedeur Sanders get his second opportunity in the league.
So now I got a question for you too, right? Now, hypothetically speaking, right? Let's say the Browns have the worst record in football, right? Do you take another quarterback?
So, very hypothetical. I don't think the Browns are going to have the worst, you know, record. Like, I think there are worse teams, i.e., Miami Dolphins,
the Cardinals,
arguably. But I think okay. If you get a top exactly to Yusuf's point, we was about to say that at the same time. If you're picking top three, yes. Like if you can get Arch Manning, if you can get Darian Mensah,
you can get I like how you threw Mensah in there, or you could throw in what's his name, Dante Moore, right? I get that situation.
So I like Darian Mensah over Dante Moore, but I'll stop. But you know what I'm saying? So. Yeah, if you can get one of those, this is going to be a good class. And yeah, I mean, you took two quarterbacks last year.
So why not?
At this point, just fucking take all the quarterbacks and see what you got. But in all seriousness, yeah, if you're picking top three or you have the opportunity to get one of those kids, absolutely. And that's no slight to Shedeur Sanders, but Shedeur Sanders was not a top three quarterback coming out of college. You know what I mean? Like, he was a fifth-round draft pick. And whether he fell, we think he fell a little bit. He wasn't a first-round draft pick. He wasn't a second-round draft pick. That would be my only, like, I guess, way you would take another quarterback. And then from that, you got to cut your losses with Shedeur. You got to cut your losses with Gabriel and maybe keep Taylor Green if you like him or whatever you have there. But at this point, man, to me, it's looking like the Browns are good enough to not have a top 5 pick, but bad enough to miss the playoffs and, you know, and still have a top 12 pick.
Right.
They're kind of in that purgatory right now, which it's what they do to themselves, bro. It's what they do to themselves. Anyways, moving along. What do we got, man? We got this new rule This is what I really wanted. This is the big topic of the night. The ACC, the SEC, and the Big Ten have all created this rule and agreed to not permit kids that have went to the draft and signed with an NFL team back to college football and to play in their conference. So, one, I want to talk about the overall state of college football right now because for me personally, we're in an era where in society as a whole, you know, like whether it's like the sensitivity thing or like we got to just really watch everything we're saying and how it affects everybody. And then there's the, you know, participation trophies that we're just giving out. And I think this falls into like that type of world we live in where everybody gets to win. And in real life, not everybody gets to win. Like we have losers. And so right. I'm in 100% agreement with these conferences for creating this rule that is going to block a guy. What was his name? Was it Deshaun Wright?
Deshaun Wright, yeah.
Deshaun Wright from going back to LSU after, you know, leaving Ole Miss and signing with an NFL franchise. Like you get cut, bro, you got it. You put on a pro helmet. You've made yourself a pro. And now you want to go back to school where you're going back to like lesser competition. And I think the biggest thing about all of this is like the NIL money, right? There's money just being thrown around for kids that are still in college. You should have stayed in college if you didn't feel like you were able to make an NFL roster.
You would have made more money in college.
You would have bet on yourself, and then you get cut. And it's not a thing of like, oh, you're trash. Oh, you get like, hey, it happens, bro. The NFL is one of the hardest leagues to be successful in. Like, I get it, but you made the decision. You signed with an agent. You went and declared for the draft. You made it to training camp, and now you're like, you know what? Let me just go back and get some more money and play, you know, with the younger kids. It's not right. Like that's unethical to me. That's unethical. So I'm very glad that they made that rule change. And it's kind of funny because Lane Kiffin was the first coach to go and get him, right? And he's like, you know, hey, fuck it. Like, I'm going to try to catch my wins wherever I can. And as one of the more winning head coaches and a guy with resources more than anybody in college football at LSU, I mean, or as much as anybody, I should say.
You can make a joke about you can make a joke about LSU, period, man. But like I said, but like what Yusuf said too, right? Yusuf makes a great point, right? If there's just one universal rule in Congress, right, then none of this would happen. But it's just the fact that everything is by a state basis, right? Mm-hmm. And with that, you have biases, obviously, with judges, right? Because obviously, let's say if I'm a judge, right, that went to LSU, right? Obviously, I want the best for my team. So I believe you have that going on a lot, especially with college sports, right? So now let's bring up a team like LSU. Let's bring up the whole sports program at LSU in general, right? Because Will Wade has been doing the same thing too, right? Will Wade signed R.J. Lewis, right? Who I mean, granted, his situation is a little different than Deshaun Wright's situation, but like even though it's apples to lettuce, right? Even though it's apples to oranges, right? At the end of the day, what? It's still motherfucking fruit. You know what I'm saying? So like, I believe that if we need to get a universal rule in Congress in play, right? That does not allow this, right? Because right now, to me, college sports is completely broken. It's completely broken. Like, I understand if you did, for example, in the basketball world, right? I believe if you enter your name in the draft, right, that's it, right? For the NBA perspective, right? Because you're gonna get on a summer league team or you're gonna get on a two-way, right? So a guy like Xavier Lee, and a guy like R.J. Lewis, right? You have two different ends of the spectrum here, right? R.J. Lewis he was a two-way guy, right? Yeah. But did not play at all for the Jazz, right? Did not play summer league at all for the Jazz either, right? So that is a situation where I understand where if he wants to go back to college, right? Even though to me, he should have stayed in college in the first place because he would have been the number one player in the transfer portal regardless of the situation. He would have made more money in college than him doing the two-way situation in the NBA, right? Yeah. Now, a guy like Xavier Lee and R.J. Lewis, they're in the same boat, right? They did not play. They did not suit up in a professional game. Although summer league is still kind of sort of a professional league, yada yada yada, right? A lot of those guys do not make an NBA roster. So I understand that aspect of it, right? Now, with the Nashawn Wright situation, it's very disgusting because it's like, okay, you went to Ole Miss, right, to play for Lane Kiffin, right? Then you declare for the draft. You play in a preseason game. You play in a live official preseason game where you recorded stats, right? Then just to go back at LSU and to renege and to get more money, it's ridiculous now. Because let's say, right, because we already know the transfer portal is already out of whack, right? The high school players, right? I'd probably say from basketball, because basketball's a top 100 thing. I'd probably say from 30 and lower, right? You're out of luck. And if you're a top 25 player, right, there's only maybe one or two freshmen, right, that are on college basketball teams now, which who would have never thought? I would never think that would ever happen in college sports, right? Because we look at guys like the coaches like Calipari, the Dukes, and we look at the Kansases, right? You have to go into the transfer portal to win now. I believe that, I mean, NIL players should get paid. Yes, we're all in agreement with that. But I believe that
to an extent.
I believe you have to change how scholarships are being given out in particular too. Like, I don't believe scholarships should be a 4-year thing. It should be a 2-year thing, especially if you're an athlete, right? Meaning you have that option. Okay, well, hey, if a coach leaves, I'm able to go. Free will, no chance. And also too, you're able to cap money at a certain rate if it's 2 years rather than 4 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, although he was a crybaby for it, I kind of understood where he's coming from. Nick Saban, where he says, hey, he's not saying get rid of NIL. He just wants scholarships he just wants players to be held accounted for their scholarships. I don't think you should be able to go to 4 schools in 4 years. No, because you're running away from adversity, right? And I believe you need some sort of adversity, right? I was a college athlete my damn self, right? So I went from playing sparingly my freshman year to not playing at all my sophomore year. So it's like you have to go through that adversity. And I believe that a lot of the college athletes today, they're ducking adversity. And
100%.
And that's a poor character.
But they're getting paid for it though. This is why the NIL to me is like, I have a slight issue with it, because not only are we letting them make the decision to transfer right after the first year and then immediately have eligibility to play, because before it was you could transfer, but you got to sit out. Right,
got to sit out of here, or depending if there was certain situations.
It was like a tricky situation. Yeah. If it was a situation, but nowadays, coach left. Coach doesn't want to start me. Better opportunity. More money. Whatever the case is, you can bounce and you can play right away. And so, I'm not hating on the bread players are making. Like, get your money, but when the money start making you, that's when I have the issue. And how can we not expect money to not make 18, 19, or 20-year-old kid when we're talking about 2.2 million, 1.7 million, $700,000? Like, this is a lot of money, life-changing money kids have never seen, that they're also not behind the best advice with, right? Like, at this point in your life, if you don't have a trusted advisor, a trusted person in your corner, and you just dealing with a bunch of yes men, you're going to make decisions that come off as just like, this is why we're looking at college kids like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, because think about all the money that's going around in college sports right now, and the lack of accountability being placed on kids. It's not a good formula for decision making, and so I just think it's they've made it more fair for the kids, and like great, because it was unfair. Like, if a coach leaves and you're kind of like shit out of luck that recruited you, and now your sophomore year, you're on the bench, or you're finding yourself as the 9th man on the team. Like, yeah, but again, you got to go through adversity. Isn't the goal to make it to the professional league now? The goal right now is to make it to college and get paid as a college athlete for as long as you can, if you even know that you're not good enough to make it to the professional leagues. Like, yo, as long as I can get this NIL 4 years, 3 years, I'm straight. Like, I can make some bread. We got guys that in the NFL are considering staying to their senior year, before going to the NFL and declaring, even though that they're like a top 5 prospect, because of the money being thrown around at the Ohio States, at the LSUs, at the Alabamas. And, if they're throwing that money at you, bro, I'm not going to argue against taking it. Like, I get it. However, to Nick Saban's point, yeah, there should be some sort of regulation to these scholarships that it just makes sense for everybody involved. And so I am once again in 100% agreement with the fact that, the SEC conference, the Big Ten, and the ACC are all stepping in and saying, look, we're not playing that game. Like, if you leave and you make your decision, you got to stand on that. If you want to be a grown-up, be a grown-up. If you want to stay for your next year, if you have eligibility, feel free to collect the check that they're throwing at you. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they're telling you you have to go to the NFL after 3 years. You have to go. If you have eligibility and this coach likes you, they're going to pay you. That's it. That's how it works. And you're going to collect a check for the next year, and you'll probably still produce at a higher rate than you would as a rookie in your professional career. So I think kids just have to start making better decisions with, all the money that's going around in college sports.
Right. And also too, to add on to that too, I do believe, and I do agree with Youssef too, man. I do believe that this can't be at a state level. It cannot be the rulings of players being able to play. It can't be at a state level. All right. It just can't, because you're going to have,
it's too much bias. There's way too much bias.
It's too much bias. Like, there has to be some sort of set law in place. Same way Title IX is a set law in place, right? There has to be a new set title to where, hey, this is what it is no matter what, and there's no loopholes. There's nothing to get around it. So that's the situation. And I believe that's how RJ Lewis and Shavarian were able to get into that loophole. They didn't. Some people don't know those summer league games don't count as official NBA games. So they were able to get.
Go ahead. I just wanted to play the devil's advocate. RJ Lewis did perform in the preseason for the Celtics, but it's all nasty work in my opinion, bro. I think it's all nasty work in my opinion. Grow up and take your L's and grow from them. That's it. College. If you're in college, and what Meek Mill said, if you in college, stay in college. If you a family man, stay with your motherfucking family.
Hell
you
yeah,
know what I mean?
Facts.
Because this shit ain't for everybody. And so, if you want to go back to the SWAC, if you want to go back to the American Conference, bro, go play for FAU. You know what I'm saying? Nashawn Wright, do your thing, bro. But we're not going back to LSU, and we're not going to help Ohio State win a national championship after you just trained with fucking Tom Brady and the Las Vegas Raiders at training camp. Like, fuck out of here, bro. Anyways, in NFL news, Packers star running back Josh Jacobs was actually formally charged today with misdemeanor battery and misdemeanor criminal damage to property, according to Wisconsin reports. They said that the formal charge came more than 3 months after he was arrested following alleged domestic violence incident at his home near Green Bay. This is obviously with, I believe her name is Ash Cash, as most of you guys know her as. I just want to read a quote from the Brown County District Attorney, David L. Lassie. He said, our office sought to ensure a fair and complete review of available evidence, some of which only recently became available to our office due to significant ongoing forensic efforts by law enforcement. And then they said that a criminal complaint is nothing more than a written formal accusation against a defendant. Alleging the commission of a criminal offense does not raise inference of guilt. Mr. Jacobs is presumed innocent of these charges. Yes, and this is an ongoing criminal case, and out of respect for the rights of all parties, our office will not have further comment on the matter at this time. But according to the criminal case, and this is also from ESPN, I'm grabbing this from, each charge, Both are Class A misdemeanors, subject to a fine of not more than 10,000 or not more than 9 months in prison, or both if he's convicted. But per the criminal complaint, a woman identified again as we know it, Ash Cash, told officers that she'd been looking through his phone and saw that he was, he was out there being a star NFL player and surprisingly talking to other women. And so she told Jacobs he could look through her phone and told him to call a car to bring her to Chicago. And when she tried to retrieve her phone, Jacobs did not return it, grabbed her arm, and began a physical struggle that lasted several minutes. I read something else, too, today that alleged Josh Jacobs. Yeah, I'm not trying to make a joke. I'm just reading this, man. I just know that a lot of people have been in this situation before in terms of you can look through my phone.
Stop going through the phones, man. Oh, my God.
Yo, you can look through my phone. But in all seriousness, there was some nasty allegations where he did put his hands on her and it got ugly. And this is why I guess today he got arrested. And so if all of that video evidence is true and Josh Jacobs did actually, put his hands on her, he deserves, say it, the 12 games.
12-game suspension.
Got to get it, man, because we got to pack these guys up. Everybody putting hands on women. First of all,
got to get packed up.
When you're in a relationship, man, nobody should be putting hands on nobody. But there's no excuse.
Wait, brother.
There's no excuse for the man to put the hands on the woman. And so this is just from Julian to y'all, gentlemen. If you're dealing with a situation with going through phones or alleged, cheating and things of this nature, listen, just walk away. I'm telling you, just walk away. It's never worth it. It's never worth it. Or, you know what I'm saying? If you're personal to me and you got a situation you're dealing with and you hide out your mind, just give me a text, give me a call, bro. I'm here to talk, man. It's always going to be better just to talk about it, walk away from the situation, because it's never okay to resort to physical violence. And it's always unfortunate when we see guys that either we look up to or we're fans of, in this type of situation. And so as much as we can get frustrated and mad and people be on bullshit, it's never an excuse to act a certain way. So appreciate you, Yusuf. If anybody could find that useful, I would advise you do so. But Josh Jacobs, man, you gotta be better, bro. They gotta pack you up for this one. I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah, man, you got
you out there touching women, man, putting hands on women. It's not acceptable, bro. And Roger Goodell, bro, you gotta set a tone with this one, bro, because over the last few years,
it's been shaky.
People getting in trouble for versus other things people getting in trouble for, and what you letting people off the leash with, and what you being okay with. Like it has been shaky. This is your opportunity right here. Commissioner Goodell, to stand up for the woman and show that the NFL cares and that the NFL does not play when it comes to physical violence against women, because it shouldn't be okay to hit a woman and then or okay to hit a woman, but not okay to, smoke some weed or get caught with a gun. Like, you got caught with a gun. All right, bro. Like, they make that the end of the world. But, smack somebody up and it's like, all right, man, a couple games. Like, nah, man, pack this kid up, man. Let him learn from this. And yeah, I think that's how you go forward with it. The NFL's got to put their foot down when it comes to shit like this.
Yeah, I agree, man. No, I agree, man. Like you said, man, the NFL got to put his foot down because, like I said, the energy be changing, man, with Roger Goodell, man, in terms of how he hands out these suspensions, So it's like now is your time to officially fully set the tone on, on these situations, especially with these domestic violence situations. You know what I'm saying? Because, this all goes back to tonight. This all goes back to the Ray Rice situation. You know what I mean? You have to keep that sound energy. You have to. So it's just like, yeah, if it may be his first time, but also too, you have to set the tone. Hey, this is a no tolerance thing. We don't tolerate this at all. So do I believe he gets 12 games? I don't think he's going to get 12 games just because of, the legal process and how it has to pend out in whatever situations that arise or may occur with the judicial process and the legal process. Now I think the minimum he's going to get is 6. Minimum, I think he's going to get. I say minimum 4, but I will say depending on if there's more information that comes out, more situations that come out, right? Then the league will make its ruling further than that. But like you said, man, the league has to keep that same energy, dog. They have to. They just have to, because I mean they dropped the ball with the Rashee Rice thing.
Yep.
Dropped the ball with that. So it's
Yep.
like you kind of have to make up for that. You have to make up for that, actually. So it's like,
and it's like, as much as it might suck for Josh Jacobs to be the person that like we got to make an example of, it also sucks to the victims and of the situation, and also like the fact that you made yourself available to be the example. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
But it's got to be somebody, man, and somebody has to feel what the discipline has to be. So that's just my thoughts on that. But you got anything else you want to go over, bro?
No, I'm good, man. I'm good. I just no, I'm good. I just wanted to say wanted to talk where you said about the whole NIL thing, man. It's been bothering me, dog. Like, we called Nick Saban a madman, we called him a hater for this, but yo, like, he wasn't wrong, bro. He wasn't wrong. Now I don't, now him saying players shouldn't get paid is ridiculous. But because like I said,
I don't even think it's ridiculous, bro. Because look where we've gotten in college sports since the players have gotten paid. Listen, and I'm gonna let you cook. But I don't agree with the fact that it's crazy for him to have said that. It's hater based, right?
Yes.
It's definitely hater based, but it ain't crazy, because where college sports is from before it was getting paid to where they are now, it's total night and day. And I agree that players should be getting paid. However, I think that they just opened the floodgates with it and didn't do it to a like they didn't have like a threshold for it,
or certain regulations or right. And that's my thing too now, right? I believe now we call it, like I said, Nick Saban is wrong in a sense where he doesn't believe players should get paid. Now, I think they should get paid just because of how much money they bring into the university. Like I said, Alabama's not fucking known for their we don't give a fuck about Alabama's medical program. We don't give a fuck about that. We know we know about Alabama's what? Football, Roll Tide, right? Bear Bryant. So that's what it comes down to. Same with the University of Miami. It's the same situation too. We don't care about Miami. Miami is a great business school.
Hey,
right?
Great medical school, man.
Great medical school too as well, right? UM medical school, great medical school as well. But UM is known for what? The helmet, right?
Yeah, for sure.
The helmet.
Sure.
You can make the argument even in basketball with Duke, right? The Jesuit schools, right, that are up north, right, with UConn and now with St. John's and North Carolina, right? They are known athletic entities, right?
Yeah.
Whether they're big in one sport or another sport, right? So that's the situation at hand. These players are bringing in so much money into these universities, right? Now, like I said, NIL or the title 8 aspect of it, I believe scholarship should be on a 2-year basis. That's the only way. That's the only way you're going to solve this thing. And if you don't receive your money until 2 years afterwards, until you fulfill your 2-year promise to the team, you're going to class, yada yada yada. That's when you get your money. I believe that should be a thing. So it's just a matter of them trying to regulate that, because to me, I don't want to take away NIL, because NIL is also benefiting women's athletes too, right?
You can't take away NIL. I mean, there's no going back take it away. Now.
And like with Title 10 too, women college athletes are benefiting more from Title 10 than the men athletes are, because like you and I said, right? The NFL and the NBA, there's so much roster turnover, there's so much player turnover, sure. to where you're able to get to where you're able to at least hit the professional ranks at some point. Women's sports, there's not that many professional lanes for them to get.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go, play softball. Like, they just made like a professional softball league that isn't even making them the money right now.
And even the WNBA too, for example, right? Like a woman, like for example, like Like Juju Watkins, for example. Juju's going to make more money in college than she will in the
Caitlin
WNBA.
Clark as well. So it's like they
So it's
gotta
like
really, really drag out their collegiate career to scoop up all
to
that bread
maximize
before
dollars.
they might even change career, once they graduate softball. And college women's softball is one of the biggest college sports. You know what
It's
I
a
mean?
moneymaker, right? It's one of the
College
biggest moneymakers.
volleyball.
Right, but specifically college women's softball, right? That's
Yeah.
I believe for some schools, right? I believe I was looking it up too. It's like the fourth biggest moneymaker in their program. Some college softball programs make more money than the baseball team.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So it's like so it's like when you have situations like that, how does that how are you going to differentiate that from your typical NIL football athlete, right? At a big university. So, like maybe Nick Saban is right, but like I said, I do believe this has to go to a federal level to where there's federal guidelines and laws in place to combat the transfer rules, right?
Yeah.
Because back then it wasn't years, it was by the semester.
Yeah.
You had 10 semesters to play 4 years. People forget that. It was a semester-based thing. So you had, remember, 10 semesters play 4 years. So once they got rid of the semester aspect of it, then that's when it started going crazy. Because that's when you allow the players to transfer you could go four schools.
Yeah,
4
however
years.
you want, yeah.
So it's whereas if back then you couldn't do that because you had credit allocation going for certain schools to certain schools.
Yep.
So you may have to not take that red shirt year. You may have to just sit out that 1 year, and you may just have to get a preferred walk-on spot, right? And that's how Baker Mayfield was able to get into school. Was he took the preferred walk-on?
Yeah, there's a lot of pioneers to this shit, bro. It's a lot of pioneers to this shit.
So it's like there's a lot of loopholes and a lot of things to get away with these things, but like Nick Saban said, scholarships now you have to just change how you give them out. They have to be on a 2-year basis, the same way a JUCO scholarship is, or a JUCO scholarship is. It has to be on a 2-year basis. Because let's say, for example, right, if you're Marcus Spears Jr., right? I don't know if anyone knows Marcus Spears Jr. He's the #1 high school basketball player in the country. He's going to Texas, right? Going to the NBA. I think he's going to the NBA, right?
Yeah.
I looked at the Texas roster. There's only 3 freshmen on that roster. That's unheard of, dog. That's unheard of. Especially in college basketball, where college basketball in what I probably say in the last 25 years, it's been a young sport.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
The best college basketball players are normally 18, 19, and then you have a few 20-year-olds that are like, okay, they move the needle, right? Whereas now you got
transfer portal.
Right. You have guys like Rick Pitino that are just outright saying, hey, we're not taking any freshmen.
We don't want them young kids, man.
We don't want them young kids no more, right?
Experienced vets, yeah.
Right. And then you have Calipari saying, hey, I only want freshmen. I only want the best young talent. And you have teams that have a decent mixture of it. You have Duke and you have Kansas, right? Where Duke and Kansas, they're going to get those top 30.
Healthy balance, you know what I'm saying?
And you have teams like a healthy balance. But when you have a team like St. John's, right, that is completely mixed with transfers, that's completely set with a bunch of 23 and 24-year-olds. It's not fair to a high school athlete, who's probably the 32nd player in his class. He's not going to get a proper scholarship, or he's not going to get the certain looks that he would normally get 10 years ago. Because back then, let's say if you were the 35th player in your country or your class, right?
Oh yeah, you
Duke's knocking at your door. Kentucky's knocking at your door. Kansas, all these blue bloods are knocking at your door. That's not happening anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's also a problem too, because it's like, you have these top 100 guys going to JUCO. Like, there's no reason why a player like Ryan Manesh, right, a guy who was a 4-star, he should have to transfer to Siena in the first place. Well, I mean, commit to Siena in the first place. He should not have to commit to Siena in the first place. That's a guy that belongs in a high major. I mean, he's at Syracuse now because of McNamara, but that's a guy who, if you look at the tape and what he brings to the table, he's a Power 5 player.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why he should have even signed at Siena, but that's just the state of college sports now today.
That's where we are. Money talk, man. So, but yo, I appreciate that. You dove deep into the NIL and the world culture that we're living in college sports. I hope whoever's listening kind of got some game right there, just maybe learn a thing or two, because it's a crazy time we're in right now, an era, and hopefully, like you said, I guess to finalize everything, like this becomes like a Congress matter where it's federal and
It's
it's not just
it's out
state,
of the state's
it's not
hands.
just statewide. So
It can't be in the state's
got to
hands.
be
It's not.
national, but
It has to be
petitions
national.
got to be signed, bro. One man can change the world, bro. You keep screaming, they're gonna hear you, bro. They're gonna hear you. But yo, Ree, I appreciate you, man. We've been on here for an hour. Everybody listening, everybody watching
Yes, sir.
live.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate
Thank you
y'all.
to all the listeners,
Tapped in
man.
the chat. You know what I'm saying? Yusuf, Breeze, Jay, all the boys, man, homies. Appreciate y'all, man.
Yes. Next episode, we're gonna tap into fantasy. All right, next because fantasy drafts next week.
Fantasy and college football.
Fantasy, we're going straight fantasy next week, man. So yo, if I got fantasy questions, send them in to Julian, man. All right, we're gonna answer them as best as we can.
Yes, sir. Yo, y'all be good. Enjoy the rest of your week. Have a safe and blessed weekend, everybody.
Yes, sir.